How safe are our schools? It's a question that continues to be asked as another gun was found just last week at Riley High School. Thankfully, we're told it was a tip that sparked the investigation.
But it makes you wonder just how many more are floating around our schools that aren't being caught or reported. In the 16 News Now Investigates, Christine Karsten gives us a closer look at how juvenile crime in the streets is leaking into our schools.
You know, the recent incident at Riley High School is just the latest in the string of concerning cases surrounding South Bend Community Schools. I want to take you back to August 17th, the first day of school for South Bend. A juvenile was taken into custody after shots were fired shortly after students got off a school bus at Huey and Bulla. Then on September 20th, a juvenile was detained in connection to a shot being fired inside a school bus. That happened in the 400 block of Terry Street. And just 2 days later, on September 22nd, a juvenile was arrested following a firearm being found inside a backpack at Washington High School. We know no school district is perfect, but when you have 3 incidents like these in the first 5 weeks of school, we had some questions.
This is really a community major issue that we need to attack from a community standpoint.
Brandon White is the Assistant Superintendent of Academics for the South Bend Community School Corporation.
If we can educate our students about the negative impacts it has on their families and our community when violence does happen because of weapons, that's what I think we can truly move the needle to make our community a safer place.
He says South Bend schools are constantly working with their students to deter them from making bad decisions that center around things like firearms.
And part of that is giving voice to our students.
In addition, they've invested in software that allows them to monitor emails or messages done on school devices. They have school resource officers, counselors in every school. They work with consultants on school safety. The list goes on.
I don't think this will be a job that's ever done, nor should it be.
But is it working? According to the South Bend Community School Corporation, over the last 4 years, 237 weapons were found in their schools, 5 of them being handguns. And already this year, 19 weapons have been found, 4 of them being firearms.
Imagine how many are in the hands outside of our schools. And so that also impacts us.
South Bend Police Chief Scott Ruskowski has been an officer in the city of South Bend for almost 35 years.
I can't remember a time where that it's ever felt this bad.
Kids grabbing for guns instead of monkey bars, pulling triggers instead of bicycle brakes.
It almost feels like Halloween. Just knock on a door and you can get a gun instead of candy.
Seriously, it's that serious?
That's what it feels like.
Between 2019 and 2021, South Bend police were able to identify at least 300 juvenile suspects involved in a gun violence incident. So far this year, 65 have been identified.
It shouldn't be any, but here we are having you ask me questions about this that you should never have to be asking me about.
In 2019, the youngest suspect was 13 years old. In 2020, the youngest was 4.
If you can open a can of soda, you can pull the trigger on a firearm.
In 2021, the youngest was 10, and so far this year, the youngest was 12.
How on earth could a young child, especially 4 years old or whatever the case, get access to it? How is it even left available to get access to that?
Another issue, why does a child feel like they have to carry a firearm for protection?
You know, how do you learn as a kid how to play a game? You know, how do you learn how to play tag? That's by somebody else, either teaching you or you're learning by watching. And that's how it's happening.
The crime that we're seeing on the streets with the juveniles, is it leaking into our school system?
Oh, yeah. No doubt about it.
In addition to firearms being found in schools, Chief Ruskowski says there's another issue. Drugs.
And I know some people will say, well, you know, it's only just a little bit of weed or whatever. It's harmless. Well, I can't tell you how many sheets over bodies that we put because of something that was harmless.
When weapons or drugs are found in South Bend schools, White says the administration gets involved. The police are called in and those items are turned over to them. From there, a police report is taken and sent to the Juvenile Justice Center for review and potential charges. At the same time, the school follows their policies to determine their disciplinary action. No matter what, White says a letter is sent out to either the students directly involved or the entire school body every single time. Why not look to things like metal detectors?
So I think we have a balance of how we want our students to feel about when they enter our school buildings. Of course, we want to take as many measures for our students to feel safe and secure. And it's not that we haven't thought about any type of, metal wanding, metal detection, but I would also have to ask, what kind of message does that send to a young teenage mind who's coming to school to learn and have to walk through a metal detector every day?
A young child shot by an even younger sibling, curious by a firearm. A kid who feels the need to carry a handgun to and from school. A teen engaging in situations they have no business being involved in. When will enough be enough?
No, I don't want weapons in our buildings. I don't want kids hurt, injured in our buildings. But I'm really tired of hearing about and losing our children out on the streets.
It's not just the South Bend Police Department. It's not just the prosecutor's office or JJC or the school corporation. It is a combination of everyone, including the parents. They're not in their kids' business, and you ought to be in your kids' business. This is for every parent out there. Is any parent going to be flawless at their duties? No, absolutely not. But to be careless or not caring at all in their duties, to me, there's no excuse for that. I don't care what anybody says.
So here's the good news. There's something you can do right now to stop this from happening at your school. Speak out. South Bend Schools offers you a way to submit an anonymous tip through QuickTip. Michiana Crime Stoppers is also another anonymous option. So how does South Bend Schools stack up against other schools in our area like Penn and Mishawaka in terms of weapons found? I have all that information waiting for you right now on our website, WNDU.com.
Happening now, a teacher shortage is affecting schools across the country and right here in Michiana. But with fewer teachers in classrooms, are students less safe? 16
News Now investigates South Bend Community School Corporation's efforts to make sure there's enough supervision in their buildings. Our Carly Luca is not only talking to administrators, but also with a teacher who's sounding the alarm and says our schools need your help.
So do you think school safety is an issue at South Bend schools?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think all the adults involved are trying their very best, but it's not like teaching adults. You do have to have a certain ratio of teachers to students, adults to students, all the different adults to keep things safe. And if you don't have that, it can become dangerous. And I think that's kind of happening in a lot of our buildings.
A teacher who spoke to us on the condition of anonymity says educators are facing increased fears over violence.
There's a sense of like, wow, this is an out of control situation and no one's going to really be able to protect me.
At a time when there aren't always enough people to staff their classrooms.
We would love to have every building fully staffed, and we're working hard.
Administrators for South Bend schools now have the help of Sarita Stevens. She joined as the Assistant Superintendent of Operations HR at a time when they need it most.
Right now, we have 39 vacancies, teaching vacancies, and we have a capacity for 1,200 teachers, and we're about at 1,160.
She tells us most of the teacher vacancies are in the middle schools.
In 3 of the middle schools, there are 19 positions. You know, that's just how it fell for us here in South Bend. But in other places, you know, it's across the board. In South Bend, it's not. We're really focused on, you know, these middle schools and focused on getting all of the positions in the middle schools covered.
But this middle school teacher says those vacancies are leading to unaddressed behavioral issues.
Lots of teachers are expressing, not just me, that this is the worst it's ever been. There's not enough people to deal with discipline. And so kids feel they can get away with a lot of things. There's not enough people monitoring the halls, and there's been quite a lot of fights. Students are threatening each other, threatening teachers. That's always happened. But when you don't have enough adults to handle each situation as they come up, it starts to grow.
Administrators for South Bend schools contradict that claim.
While there are vacancies, we still make sure there are people there, you know, that we have, you know, people for supervision.
There may not be as many, but there are still ample individuals out to supervise hallway and in other transitions.
And I have to tell you, in most of our schools, we have stable environments.
But their work is far from over.
You really have to focus in on that every single day. You have to be vigilant, you have to get ahead of it. And I have to say, when you have people that call off because they can't do it any other way in the morning, we have to step in. We have to be ready for that. And that's what we're trying to do.
Still, the frustrations continue. This teacher says the lack of consistency is affecting students and educators.
I show up to different classes every day, and sometimes I know the students, sometimes I don't, depending on the grade that I'm helping with that day. And, it's who are you? All of those kinds of things are leading to teachers quitting or not coming back, getting exhausted. In my building, there are very few adults smiling at this point.
And while teachers are covering extra classes,
so we have a shortage not just of teachers, but also substitutes. So what happens is the teachers are every single day, almost without exception, giving up their planning periods to go and substitute. And so they're not getting a break.
Administrators say it can help foster those important relationships with students.
Although class coverage can cause fatigue with our teachers, it's a benefit because children know those teachers and they feel, safe and accommodated because it's a familiar face.
But there are still worries some kids will fall through the gaps.
It's just a matter of being able to immediately address the behaviors and get students who are fighting at school, especially repeatedly, they have some kind of emotional issue going on in their lives, and they need extra help and extra attention. They don't need to be suspended or thrown away, but they do need extra help, and that's what we're missing.
Stevens says it takes a village.
That means that the collective effort of everyone working together will keep everyone safe. It's creating the system of safety and stability. You really do have to respect every aware human being and give them a voice because they will tell you where the gun is. They will tell you who has the gun. They will tell you who has the mace. They'll tell you who has the knife. So, that is why you want to create that relationship no matter how few people you have. You want somebody that has that specific relationship with that kid that they'll tell.
The district says as they work to find more teachers, they're also there to listen and to ensure schools are being operated safely.
You want to listen to every voice. So you do have to respect someone saying that I don't feel that there's enough coverage and I feel vulnerable.
But our number one goal and our number one expectations for our principals are, if there are shortages, supervision, safe supervision of our students is our number one priority.
What we want those teachers to know is that we are working very hard to make sure that we're at full teacher capacity.
The teacher I spoke to supports the school's recruitment efforts and is calling on the community to step in and help.
It's not going to magically happen. It's not somebody else's problem. If you're out there with a college degree wondering how to invest your life, your community needs you.
If you want to help South Bend schools get fully staffed, you can find a list of open positions on their website. They're also meeting candidates for certified and non-certified positions at their fall job fair this week. That's happening at the Brown Community Learning Center on Thursday from 4 to 7 p.m. You can find that information with this full story on our website, WNDU.com. For 16 News Now Investigates, I'm Carly Luca.